Thank you for participating in this experiment. You will play a computerized betting card game where you will make a series of decisions as you play against your opponent. Your performance during this experiment will determine how much money you earn in addition to your baseline payment. Your performance on 10% of the rounds will count towards your final pay. Which rounds count towards your payment will be randomly determined, and you will not know during the experiment which rounds will be paid. Please pay very careful attention to these instructions. First, I will present an overview of how this game works. Please pay careful attention to the rules. One person will be assigned the role of player 1 and the other the role of player 2. You will know what role you have, and you will have the same role for the entirety of the experiment. The game will begin with each player automatically adding one token from their stash into the communal pot. The winner of each round will win the contents of this pot. First, player 1 is dealt a card, either labeled high or low. There are only 2 cards possible in this game. Player 2 will not know what card player 1 was dealt. Player 1 will have 2 options: to either bet by adding a number of tokens to the pot and progressing the game, or fold, ending the game and conceding the pot to player 2. If player 1 chooses bet, then player 2 can choose call or fold. If player 2 chooses call, they add more tokens to the pot. Depending on what card player 1 had, the pot either goes to player 1 or to player 2. If player 2 instead chooses to fold, player 1 wins the pot. Don't worry, we will now go over the game step by step to make things more clear. The game will begin with both players automatically contributing 1 token from their own stash into the communal pot. This will happen at the beginning of each round. The pot's contents will go to the winner of each round, so the pot will reset every round. For the game, you will be given a certain number of tokens which you can use to bet. You can increase the number of tokens you have through winning rounds and decrease the number of tokens through losing rounds. First, player 1 will get dealt a card, either high or low. Player 2 is not dealt a card. Player 2 does not know which card player 1 has. Player 1 makes the choice of action first, and can choose to either bet and add more tokens to the pot to continue the round, or fold and end the round. Player 2 knows and is informed of what action player 1 takes. More specifically, what do these actions mean? If player 1 chooses bet, then they will add a certain number of tokens to the pot. Then it's player 2's turn to make a decision. If player 1 chooses to fold, then the pot goes to player 2 and then the round ends. Player 2, in this case, does not make any decision. If player 1 chooses to bet, then it's player 2's turn to make a decision. They can choose to either call or fold. So what do these actions mean? If player 2 calls, then they add a predetermined number of tokens to the communal pot. Then, player 1's card will be revealed. Which player wins the pot depends on what card player 1 had. If player 1 had the high card, then player 1 wins the contents of the communal pot. If player 1 had the low card, then player 2 wins the contents of the communal pot. As an overview, only player 1 is dealt a card, and it can be either high or low. Player 1 can then decide to bet or fold. If player 1 chooses to bet, then player 2 can decide to call or fold. Here's the graphic we saw at the beginning of this video to remind you the overall structure of this game. Feel free to pause the video here if you'd like to get a better look at this graphic. Note that the number of tokens for betting or calling is fixed within a round, but will change over the course of the game. You'll be told what the current bet size is each round. To make the game clearer, we will walk you through an example of a round. Here, you'll see what each player's screen would look like. Player 1 will see their card displayed and will be prompted to either bet or fold. Player 2 will be instructed to wait while player 1 makes his decision. Here, player 1 has decided to bet. Therefore, player 2 is informed of this and can now choose to make the decision of to call or to fold. Player 2 chose to call, but because player 1 had the high card, player 1 wins the contents of the communal pot. As a summary, the game will proceed for a certain number of rounds as outlined above. You'll be partnered with another person and play a computerized betting card game. You'll not be able to communicate with them during the game, but your earnings will depend on their actions and your own. Thank you for your time and participation.